Everybody loves Waddle Dee. Forget the pink guy. Waddle Dee's the best. But what if I told you there were 29 other forms of Waddle Dee to love and cherish? You'd be excited, right? You'd be excited, right? Good! Well, for today's video, I'm going through each of the variants, and to make it a little easier, I've sorted them into categories. Now, let's start our voyage across the Waddle-Verse! So, let's start with the biggest and simplest category, the occupational Ds. First, we have Parasol Dee. These Ds are the second most common after your standard Waddle Dee. Relatively harmless, the Parasol Dee gently floats down holding their classic red and white parasol. Once they hit the ground, they drop their parasol and go back to looking like your standard Waddle Dee. Next, we have a similar form of Dee, the Fluff Dee. These Ds are essentially the same as the Parasol Dee, but instead of a parasol, they use a dandelion. Once they hit the ground, their dandelions poof and floats away. Here we have the Spear Dee. These Waddle Dees have quite the throwing arm, as their whole shtick is yucking a spear at Kirby. Along with that, these little fellas can also thrust their spears to try and damage you. The most famous Spear Dee, and probably the most famous Dee of all, is Bandana Dee, who can be seen as Kirby's friend and ally in many games. Swinging into action is none other than the Swinging Dee. These little fellas took a page out of Tarzan's book and quite literally like to hang around. They don't actually pose any direct threat to Kirby, but their swinging can get in the way of your movement and make them a hazard. Cart Waddle Dees are the worst drivers and are probably the cause of most traffic on Planet Popstar. In Kirby Air Ride, Cart Dees drive around the course in little mine carts, and even if you're directly behind them, they won't get out of the way. Here to make your day is Balloon Dee. Balloon Dee doesn't attack Kirby and actually serves as a method for the player to ascend in the level. However, you can't keep going up forever. After a while, the balloons will pop under Kirby's weight. Next, let's keep a keen eye out for Bow Dee. These Ds are equipped with a bow and arrow, although they don't directly aim at Kirby. Instead, they usually shoot and aim at the same spot in the ground. Block Ds just like to have fun. Block Ds toss denim blocks around to each other, and while they throw, the player can use the denim block to go to higher places. But be careful, because Block Ds have butter fingers, and bumping into them will make them drop the block and become a regular Waddle Dee. Snowball Ds pack up snow and throw snowballs of varying sizes. These snowballs can take out other enemies and also trap Kirby. Next up are the Lumberjack Ds. Lumberjack Ds are always in the background with their little green hats hacking away at trees. These trees can sometimes fall and hurt Kirby, but whether they hurt Kirby or not, they seem to be happy all the same. Wise Waddle Dee is a Waddle Dee who wears glasses and a black scholar hat. You can find him sitting on a bench in Waddle Dee Town. He provides the player with all sorts of information like where to find blueprints, personal records, and tips. Serving up some grub is our next Waddle Dee, Cafe Dee. This hard-working Dee can be found serving up all sorts of delicious food and drink at the cafe in Waddle Dee Town. Next up, we have Driver Dee. Homie drives the bus! These Ds can actually drive anything from a car to a truck. My favorite is when he drives the bus. Look at him! These Ds might not look like it, but they have a serious case of road rage, because the way they defeat Kirby is by hitting him with their vehicle. Speaking of Mad Lad Ds with no respect for driver or pedestrian safety, we have Truck Monster Dee. No, not Monster Truck, Truck Monster. Weird, I know. These Ds love to race their souped up cars, which can potentially hurt Kirby and the other racers. Next up is the Working Man's Dee, Hard Hat Dee. Hard Hat Ds are so hard at work that they don't even care about Kirby's presence. They just walk about, doing their jobs and potentially get in your way as a result. Sometimes you can even find Hard Hat Ds sleeping on the job, but I think it's a well-deserved rest. Charging in, we have the most courageous of Ds, Arena Dee. Like something out of D100, Arena Dee is unafraid to die and takes on Kirby in the arena. Really, he's no different than a normal Waddle Dee, but he won't let that hold him back. Next, we have the Walker Dee, who moves around using mecha robot legs. Could they move around before? Yes. Could they walk around using Giga I'm gonna curb stomp you legs? Exactly. On top of that, Walker Dees come equipped with missiles to blast anyone who disrespects the greatness of their legs. There's also an aerial version which does the same thing, but just walks in the air. And to round out the occupation Ds, we have Usher D. Usher D runs the Waddle Dee Cinema in Waddle Dee Town. As you can see, homie is dripped out with the red hat and bow tie. When you want to see a film, talk to him and he'll usher you right to your seat. Woo! Okay, occupation D's done. Let's get into the next group, which is much shorter. The Special Ds. Our first Special D is Cyborg D. These little guys are functionally the same as regular Waddle Dee, except this time, they're cyborgs. There's also a Parasol D variant. Now, going up the list and in size, next is Big D. That's kind of the whole thing. It's just big. Other than that, it acts just like a normal Waddle Dee. However, getting even bigger, we have Grand D, who's an even bigger version of Big D, except now he looks like a monkey or a coconut. Functionally though, it's still the same as a Waddle Dee. Finally, we get the biggest D of them all, Colossal D. And it looks exactly like a regular Waddle Dee, except that it's huge and has purplish eyes. Yeah, that's about it. Anywho, next is our shiny friend, Gold D. If you couldn't tell from the name, our friend here is a bright and shiny gold color. If you're able to defeat him, he drops treasure. Going from AU to FE, our next Waddle Dee is as tough as iron. I give you Toughness D. Toughness D looks similar to a regular Waddle Dee. However, Toughness D is equipped with indestructible metallic silver skin. This type of Waddle Dee is, well, indestructible and invincible, with the player unable to kill it. In fact, it'll just stay in one place, unmoving, occasionally taunting you by calmly swinging its arms back and forth. Now, I'm not really sure that this counts as an actual variant of Waddle Dee, but I liked it so much that I had to include it. So, rounding out the special category is Puppet D. Just look at him! He's amazing! It's like the Mimikyu of Kirby. Puppet D, as the name states, is actually a huge puppet controlled by a group of regular Waddle Dee underneath. It essentially functions the same as a Waddle Dee, but the puppet exterior gives it the added durability. And Nintendo, hear me out. All I'm saying is that if you made this into a plush, it might be the best business decision you've ever made. Just saying. Okay, finally, the last category with only 4 Waddle Dees left to go. If you like what you've seen so far, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe because those are the things that tell me that you like what I made, and it's encouragement to make more. Alright, on to the mutants. Here we have Wapod. Wapod's appearance makes it seem very ghost-like. They seem to reside in these little jugs called Wapod pods and wait for Kirby to approach them before emerging. Similar to a normal Waddle Dee, it won't attack you. However, if you defeat a Wapod, it will just re-emerge from its jug. The only way to defeat it for good is to destroy the Wapod pod directly. Next up, we have a D who is so cute, he might just have the key to my heart. This is Key D. It also goes by the name Carry D or Wonky. Key Ds have furry yellow bodies, pink faces, and swirly red cheeks. They kind of look like the mini version of a golden ape from Dragon Ball. Key Ds hold keys and run away from the player. If the player doesn't catch them in time, they'll either bump into something and drop the key, or use the key to open up a different door, usually filled with enemies. Next, we have the Halcandra D. While unclear if it's actually related to Waddle Dee, they seem to serve the same purpose in the land of Halcandra. They look spooky with light gray skin, white hands, orange eyes, yellow feet, and a wisp on their head. Similar to their Planet Popstar brethren, there are also Parasol and Big variants of the Halcandra D. And for our final Waddle Dee, we have the freakiest. This is the Sectra D. Like many other D variants, there's no major functional difference between the Sectra D and a standard Waddle Dee. But look at this dude! He's bugging out! He looks like he's about to come over to the fruit and hit me with the zzz. And even though they look like flies, these guys are grounded. The only time you'll see them floating around is when you encounter their Parasol variant. Okay! And with that, we have gone through 29 Waddle Dees. let me know which one is your favorite, and please let me know if I missed some. If there's enough, I might do a part 2. But with that, that's about all I got for you. See ya.